had no idea. As I hang up the phone, it rings again. It was a phone that was actually in a cradle, like I talked earlier. And I answer again, I'm like, hello? A little more worried. And I was like, hey, Dad, this is Gary Delabate. I'm Howard Stern's producer. You got 10 minutes to talk to Howard about the t-shirt? We hated that friggin' movie. I still had no idea what was going on. Like, you want me to be on the Howard Stern? Yeah, come be on the Howard Stern show. Do I have to get naked? No. I had no idea what was going on. I finally put two and two together, and I realized that the t-shirt was on the front page of USA Today. Long story short, in just under 2 months, I sold a little over 10,000 shirts on the web at $15 a piece, cleared about 100 grand. And the funniest bit about that, I had no idea this was going to work. Here's a life rule. Everyone tells you to have a plan for when you fail. Have a backup plan for when you fail, right? Everyone says that. And the idea of that, especially in today's world of social media, have a backup plan for when you fail. First of all, psychologically, that's got to suck. What they're saying is, you're going to be terrible. When you blow this, make sure you have something else, because whatever you're trying to do, it's going to be horrible because you're terrible. So have something, make sure you have a backup plan. No one ever tells you to have a backup plan in case you succeed. So today's rule, have a backup plan for when you succeed. Have a backup plan for when that video you posted gets mentioned on The Daily Show, and you have 38 billion views. Have a backup plan when Oprah eats your latest book, or reviews your latest book. Have a backup plan. That, honest to God, that was not a joke. That was a Freudian. The damn diet I'm on it. I'm starving. Wow. Everything is just about food now. You're to 10%. Okay. Yeah. Sorry, Oprah. Love you. Have a plan for when Oprah reads your latest book and mentions it online. You want to have a backup plan for when you succeed. No one does that. You want to have a backup plan. I love it. Everyone's face down to getting that out. But here is how read books. Have a backup plan for when you succeed, because that's A, psychologically, it's a lot better. B, when you do succeed, you have when I sold the t-shirts, I wound up having like 1,000 t-shirts in my studio apartment the size of you. Like I was using them as furniture. Like I hired 10 of my father's students to come over every day. He was a high school principal. I hired 10 of his students to come over every day to help box up t-shirts and take them to the post office. It was like P. Diddy's studio sweatshop apartment. And that's what we had to create, because I had no plan. If I had known any of this was going to happen, maybe I would have had them printed in advance, maybe I would have done an assignment. So I was like sleeping on boxes of shirts because I had no room. Plan to succeed. Psychologically, it's got to be better, but it'll also help when that does happen, because in today's world of social media, the chances of something blowing up like that are a lot bigger than they've ever been before. Create good content, and those numbers rise even higher. So that was the t-shirt story. Essentially, from that, I started this PR firm called the Geek Factory. We were at NASA and Juno. That's where I found my love of skydiving. I took 150 CEOs skydiving as a PR star. You know the story, you put 100 people in a room, give them all a line of cocaine, 99 of them walk out, never need to do it again, one guy gets hooked, 250 licensed skydives after that one jump. Okay, that's why there's a reason I stay away from drugs. I know myself way too well. It's like, let's get up again. Yeah, I would be useless. So, fortunately, I find good outlets for my ADHD and energy. So, that's how that started. I sold the Geek Factory in 2001 to a larger agency. I kept the name. You never can come up with a better name than the Geek Factory. So, the Geek Factory is now a holding company for everything else I do. In 2004, I was traveling constantly. I was always, not as much as I'm doing now. No one travels as much as I do now, but I was on a plane probably, at that point, once every week and a half. I thought that was a lot. And I had about 50 flights in a row that I was just sitting next to like the worst person in the world. That's like actually a trademark name. Like, you look, as the people come down, like, oh, it's the worst person in the world. He's right next to you. And he's either like, he just got back from a country where they don't shower, or, he's trying to convert you, or whatever it is. But he will sit next to me. And the supermodel, like, or she's 3 rows ahead of me, and I'm like, I'm still next to her, next to the supermodel. And I sat next to the worst person in the world for like 45 minutes. Then I sat next to Miss Texas. I guess it was like her turn to have a crappy flight. So I sit next to Miss Texas, and this flight takes about 3 seconds. I'm like, how come this flight took like 5 seconds? Oh, because I sat next to someone cool. So I built the world's first social networking site that let you choose your seatmate before you get on the plane, called Air Introductions. It has since been acquired by Shankman, and like I knew they would, they destroyed it and killed it within a year. But I started it, had about 10,000 members. You would get online, you'd fill out a profile, just like you would on a dating site or a networking site, submit your itinerary, the system would show you who else was on that same flight, you map, if you wanted to sit next to them, you could. I built it as a business networking site. Here's a great story. I built it as a business networking site. My logic was, on January 4th, if you're getting on a plane and going to Vegas and anywhere in the world, you're going to CES. Right? If you're going, there's just like, there are different places, times where you're going to somewhere, chance or you're going to do business. Why wouldn't you want to start doing business before you get there? Do it on the plane, maybe have some fun when you get there. If nothing else, just split a cab, right? That was my logic. So I built it 10,000 paying business members. Paid $19.95 a month to use the site. Made it simply coin. Then I got a call from Lisa Loeb's production studio. Used to be a singer, now a reality star. She, her production, she was doing a TV show called Number One Single. You remember that? And yeah, me neither. It was like memorable about an eighth of a second. And she wanted to use her introductions to find a date. And my first thought was, well, we can't do that. It's a business networking site. My second thought was, you dumbass, of course you can. Exposure. So I said, sure, let me use it to find a date. And of course, being reality TV, which is not real at all, they totally faked it. It's like she found a match and the whole thing, and she got a date. I forgot about it. Went to sleep around like 9:30 one night. The show aired at 10, I think, on VH1. Went to sleep at like 9:30, and we had like 10,000 business members looking to do some business on a plane. I woke up the next morning after the show premiere. We had 50,000 members looking to do some business on a plane. How you doing? Overnight, we went from a business networking site to a dating site. Overnight. And I learned a very valuable lesson. Life lesson: you don't control the direction of your company. You never control the direction of your company. Your company is controlled, the direction of your company is controlled by your customers. If you think for a second that you control the direction of your company, you will fail. You have to listen to your customers and figure out where they want your company to go. Give you an example now. I have prizes. I always come with prizes. What was Amazon, and no Googling this, what was Amazon's first ever slogan?
Well, Facebook star.
Who said that? Wow, well done, man. Did you like look me up and like hear my speeches before? Because that was really important. No one ever gets that. That's like asking who the 11th to 12th president was. No one ever gets that. Awesome job. What's your name?
DJ.
DJ, well done. Where do you work? Give a shout out.
Blue Sky Factory.
Blue Sky? Oh, dude, I know you. Your email. I know you guys very well. Blue Sky Factory rocks. Yeah, phenomenal email provider. You guys don't know Blue Sky Factory. Here, it's Poking. I'll explain what it does later. So yeah, Amazon's first ever logo or slogan was Earth's biggest bookstore. Amazon used to sell books. Books, the best way to describe books, imagine a Kindle without batteries. It's sort of books. Okay. So, Amazon used to sell books. And what happened was, people started saying, wow, I'm just going to buy other things. I'm going to buy Amazon like as cheap as I could. You know, get them on Amazon. Amazon listened. Now, every Christmas, Walmart freaks the hell out about Amazon. My last purchase on Amazon was like a blender or something. You know, Amazon sells everything. They listen to what their audience wants. Listen to your audience. Your audience controls the direction of your company. So that was the introductions. And then finally, of course, helping a lot of reporters, always being a nice guy, that led to Harrow. For those who don't know what Harrow is, here's the 5-second scoop. I started an email newsletter that I would send out to my friends. They grew too big for that, so I started sending it out on Facebook. That essentially, reporters would call me and say, hey, I'm doing a story on whatever, who do you know? And I'd say, oh, call my friend Mark, or call my friend John, or call Michelle. Over time, I started not knowing what they needed because they started asking me more and more random requests. So I built a Facebook group. The Facebook group, I'd say, hey, a reporter from the New York Times wants to know how to do, find someone who knows about this, or seats, or cushions, or whatever. They forward it out to the Facebook group, they would answer automatically on their own with the reporter. We outgrew the Facebook group. I launched on the web at helpreporter.com. It's a free service that 3 times a day we send you an email with 60 to 75 queries from journalists all around the world. New York Times, Wall Street Journal, Oprah, newspaper here uses it, Newsweek, CNN, ABC, literally almost every media outlet in the world uses Help Reporter. We send out about 3 emails a day, only 3 emails a day with about 75 to 80 queries per email. We now have a mailing list of about 160,000 people who 3 times a day get this email. Here's the interesting thing. If you produce good content, people will want to get it no matter how many times you send it out. If it's good content they can use, people will read it. Average open rate. Oh, Blue Sky Factory. Average open rate in the industry for a commercial email. Maybe 20%. Harrow averages around 70%. That's obscene. That literally borders on obscenity. 70% open rate is unheard of. I mean, it goes down and up based on the holidays, based on time of day. Friday afternoon, our work rates up. You know, Wednesday morning, they're awesome. But we've created content. We basically created email crap. Who runs a small business? Imagine if you subscribed to the Harrow, and the one day you didn't look at it, the New York Times is doing a cover story on the stuff that your business did. And you were the only company that wasn't in it. Okay? God, would you be missed. So, we created email crap. You have to read it. Create good content. People will read it. They will forward it. They will create. You can't, here's a rule, life rule. You cannot make anything viral. You can make something good. Make something good, and by default, it will go viral. In the first year, I started Harrow, and the funny thing is, I started Harrow just to be nice. I never started Harrow to make any money or anything like that. And in the, I launched it, moved to the web in March of 08. So I guess about right around the summer of 08, someone called me from American Apparel. This is a funny story. They called me from American Apparel, and they said, hey, at that time I had about 10,000 people on the list, and they were mostly PR people. And she goes, hey, you're the PR list. Aren't most people on the PR list, aren't they, like we see on TV, like the hot PR girls who like work for Lizzie Grubb and all that, don't they all like, aren't they all anorexic and they like look, you know, they're really hot models? I remember I was like sitting on my couch in my sweatpants going, yep. That's exactly how we look. Found us out. You know, we wipe my nose and get a slice of pizza, right? So I said, yeah, that's us. And she goes, great, can we advertise American Apparel? And I said, sure, I don't care. She goes, well, you know, how much do you charge per ad? I don't know, $100? Which turned out something like that turned out to be like a 0.029% click-through rate. It was ridiculously cheap. I had no idea. And they got a 7.9% conversion rate, conversion to sale rate on that one email. So like 7.9% of the people that read the Harrow like clicked and bought something. They go back like, yeah, we'd like to buy 40 more ads. Okay, I might charge you a little more. And so essentially that's where Harrow started. In 2009, Harrow generated a little over $1.4 million in revenue from 3 4-line text emails a day. Or 3 4-line text ads a day was in that email. The beauty of Harrow, and Fritz said this as well, it's consistency. You know, the Harrow is a small 4-line text ad, one blurb about where the hell I am in the world today, and then the queries. That will never change. And because that's there, people expect to get that level of consistency from it, and they love it, and they will read it religiously. What we have to do now, whenever we sell the Harrow ads, we have to tell the advertisers, hey, make sure your servers can handle this, because at least once a week, we'll crash someone's server from the ad. Because 150 people, 1,000 people see it at once, and then they call us all pissed off, and we're like, yeah, we're really sorry our ad worked too well. So that's Harrow. In June of this year, or June of 2010, Harrow was acquired by a media company called Focus out of Washington, D.C. I sold out. I'm still the CEO of it, but it's now run by a much larger company that can do much greater things. It'll always still be free. So it's pretty cool stuff. That's Harrow. What I'm going to talk about the rest of my time, the 4 rules of how I built Harrow and turned it into this, because we never spent a penny in advertising. So the 4 rules of Harrow and how I built it into what this giant thing that it is today is. Whatever. So the 4 rules of Harrow, they're really simple. I'll give you another prize to someone back in the 80s. All the way back in the 80s. Actually, I'll take it a step further. Let's say for the past 100 years. With the exception of the past 20 years. For the past 100 years prior to that, who ran this country? No. No. 3 words. And they're not the most politically correct words. Sex did not run this. If sex ran this country, I'd be a lot happier. No. and that's 1 word. Maybe therein lies the problem. 3 words. Old white people. Yes, I was going to go with old white men. That's exactly the right answer. Old white men. Last 100 years, I don't think anyone would deny it. Old white men ran this